So most banks in the Caribbean mandate 3D Secure if you're going online. So we're still in version 1.0. They're talking sort of potentially back end of next year for 2.0 within the Caribbean. I think it's important that people don't view 3D Secure as like sort of the silver bullet for protecting themselves online. A lot of people do make that mistake sometimes. Say, well, I've got 3D Secure, so I'm never going to have any chargebacks. Well, that's not it's not really the case. So nothing actually prevents a person from doing a chargeback. So what you're trying to do is protect yourself on the front end. And they're 3D Secure in the Caribbean. There aren't a lot of issuers that support it. So you're probably not going to get that challenge question very often in the Caribbean. So really, we see 3D Secure within the Caribbean being more of a reactionary tool, that you might get some liability shift on that transaction if it comes up as a fraudulent transaction, depending on the reason code on the chargeback. But where we see your Kount as being more beneficial is that it's going to stop those transactions that could result in a chargeback in the first place.
With some of our European and global partners is how and when and if we need to use a step-up authentication like 3D Secure. And so we all know that if we're using PSD2 as the example, part of that requirement is having strong customer authentication. And so the way that we're positioned and the way that our partners are positioning Kount as part of their services for SCA is doing that fraud analysis, which allows them to have a manageable fraud rate that either increases exemptions, so that reduces the amount of step-up authentication that they have to do. But in the cases where it might be necessary, it's not an either or. Should we use Kount? Should we use 3DS? It's a workflow where they actually work together. So in a lot of cases, Kount is the initial fraud analysis, and we're being leveraged to again maintain the fraud rates so that we can maximize those exemptions. And based on certain scenarios, if a step-up authentication is required, then a transaction can be routed through 3DS. Let's say maybe there is a review process. We analyze the transaction. Part of our analysis is a score, a safety rating that we assign. So maybe the score falls within a gray area, and during the review, a call out to 3DS needs to be made, then that can happen. So it's part of the workflow. And we get that question a lot. Should we use a fraud solution or should we just go with 3DS? And our response is you can and should use them both.